What is up, everybody? Welcome to Thursday Night Football, the Showdown show. We are here to break down the slate for you, the little one gamer, little showtime, little baby slate for you, man. Here on Thursday nights, always joined by Kyle Murray, who's kind enough to get out of the projections lab and come down and do a little show with us. How you doing, Kyle?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm looking forward to this game. I think it's got a couple interesting pieces to it. I have a handful of props in as well, so I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a good one.
Yeah, okay. You can say good, I guess. It is what it is. Like, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and not all games you need the big total or tight spread to justify it being good. Sometimes you just want to see something different, and this is certainly different if that's what you're into. So, Pittsburgh, Tennessee's on the horizon tonight. Let's run through the inactives real quick because there's really nothing noteworthy here. I don't see anything for Pittsburgh that's particularly noteworthy. Defensive tackle Braden Feheko is not playing tonight. That's interesting because there's like 4 Feheko brothers in the NFL. It's pretty crazy, and that must be a really big family of athletes right there. For Tennessee, Ryan Tannehill's the big one. We knew that was coming, and so we're going to get another week of Will Levis. Other than that, there's not a lot there that's going to move the needle for me. But Will Levis, man, he's the flavor of the week. He had a really good game in the first week, that's for sure, in his first start. And I'm curious to see if he can. I certainly don't think he's going to duplicate 4 touchdowns and being that good again. But see if he comes somewhere close to that, and seeing exactly what he holds. Because if we remember back in college, he was supposed to be a very high draft pick at one point in his college career at Kentucky. Very, very good. Like, he had all the bells and whistles attached to him. Had a really bad last year at Kentucky, dropped him down. He fell free fall through the draft board. So you kind of lose faith in a guy like that, I guess. Then he pops up and he does this. So this is not like some I don't even know this is not like, let's say, Dak Prescott 7 years ago coming out of nowhere and stealing Tony Romo's job. Like, oh, he can't do this. This is a 6th-round pick or a 4th round. No, this guy was projected to go like top 3 at one point. So is this somewhat like, I don't want to say can he duplicate that but can he be kind of this good long term?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple of reasons why I think yes. Obviously, you kind of mentioned it's going to be hard for him to duplicate that success where it was a lot of big plays and really efficient offensive moving the ball down the field. I don't know if that'll happen again, but he made a couple of big throws, and I will say the matchup this week is a lot more difficult. He should have less time, obviously, with TJ Watt and the rest of the Steelers pass rush bearing down on him there. But another thing is he has some good weapons. Like, he has DeAndre Hopkins, a couple of running backs that they use Spears out of the backfield at times. Henry's been obviously involved more in the passing game the past year and a half or so. Obviously, we know he can do on the ground. I like Okonkwo as a tight end. So I think he has some weapons that they can utilize. Treylon Burks is another name as well. So I think there are some ways that he can definitely have success. And we've seen this team sort of have success offensively with Tannehill, who I don't think is an amazing quarterback either. I just think they do have some pieces that can allow a quarterback to maybe play a little bit over their head. And like you mentioned, really highly rated prospect at one time. So there are a couple of reasons to think so, but it has been a little bit of a dumpster fire in Tennessee at times this year and even at times last year. So you do kind of question if maybe it was a little bit fluky, but I think there's definitely a couple of reasons to have some optimism here if you're Will Levis or Titans fans.
And his performance leads you into the second part of that equation, which is his receivers, who have been absolutely in no man's land, in a wasteland with Ryan Tannehill back there. Boy, Hopkins showed some signs of life finally last week. Not just signs, he exploded. Like, if he can, maybe his performance being so much better than Tannehill almost can't be worse. Really reignites DeAndre Hopkins, so that's going to be a big factor too. So I have a question for you. Going into my season long here, half PPR, kind of like FanDuel scoring, half PPR. I got Hopkins on. I don't know if I'm buying into that though. Should I do Hopkins or should I do Terry McLaurin this week?
Ooh, that's a tough one because Terry also has a fairly difficult matchup. Let me check where we have him in the projections real quick. I'll use the resources at my disposal, like I tend to trust. We have Terry for 11.5 FanDuel points, and we have Hopkins for 10 FanDuel points. So
Ooh, that's pretty big. That's pretty big gap right there. I thought it might be a little closer. Yeah. Right now I got Terry in there. I wasn't sure I wanted to. Sometimes you sit there. Like sometimes it's fun to watch the third when you got good players going and you expect you got some high projections on them. It's fun, but boy, it's not fun when you get buried after Thursday and your season long and then you're hopeless, man. So
yep, exactly.
Yeah. All right, we got some questions rolling in, so we'll get to them now. Well, I want to go to the Discord channel first and talk. David82165 always asks some fun questions. Let's start off with using 2 kickers tonight. What is your like? We'll get to another question that's kind of similar, but if there's ever a game in which 2 kickers could be viable in an optimal lineup, it might be something like this. What do you think about 2 kickers in the same lineup tonight?
Yeah, I think it. Me and you have obviously done all Thursday night shows this year, and we've talked about defenses and kickers a lot. And I think I've kind of stayed away from them for the most part this year. And this is a game where I think they make a little bit of sense here. I think both offenses have some reason to, be a little bit ugly tonight. 36.5 point total. That's a very, very low number. So I think that definitely brings kickers into play, brings defenses into play. In terms of projections, obviously that's something that I reference a lot on these shows, but there's also not a lot of really cheap options either. So that kind of brings more balanced builds into the equation. And I think I still don't know if I'd want to do both kickers because I still think that you can find a guy like, for example, Okonkwo, Treylon Burks. If these guys score a touchdown, Westbrook-Ikine, if they score a touchdown, they have just an inherent higher ceiling than kickers. But for the most part, kickers are definitely more in play tonight than I would have said on other slates.
Interesting. And then his follow-up question to that was, do you prefer ketchup or mustard on your hot dog if you can only pick one?
It's ketchup for me.
You see, it's an interesting question because on Halloween, we had hot dogs. We did a little a little something festive there. And my go-to on hot dogs is both ketchup and mustard. Before I stick the weenie in the bun, I'll line the bottom with a little mustard, and then I throw the weenie in there. Then I do the ketchup on top and give it, disperse it really equally like that, and you get a little bit of both worlds there. So I like them both. Boy, if you're twisting my arm and told me I could only pick one, it's probably gonna be mustard. Mustard, both taste good, both different. Mustard, tad bit healthier for you, so I'll go with the healthier choice. That'll be my tiebreaker, but I like them both on my hot dog. All right. And we were talking about the type of game it is and maybe 2 kickers. And Matt was in chat earlier and he says, defense's kicker, if there was ever a 0 quarterback slate, this has the looks of it. Yeah, if there was ever a showdown where you could like bypass on your quarterbacks, this could be it. Or this could be like a shootout. You never know. That's the way showdowns are. So wait a minute. Maki 222 is he's got some foul things that he says Chop likes to get his whole weenie wet. I mean, you're going a little overboard, bud, but we will allow it because it's Thursday night. We're gonna kick off some football here. All right, let's go. You know what I want to do right now? I want to talk about something real quick because we got about 25 minutes left before this thing locks. We've got the Fill It and the Plums play of the night coming up later. And we'll get to all that, but I know you're part of this group that has worked on the Sims here for a while and all that. I need to give some shout out to the Sims Lab. All right. So we just dropped the beta version of the new NFL lineup building tool. For a limited time, it's free. It's Sims Lab. It's a brand new product that generates DFS lineups. I'm going to do the read for you real quick. Generates DFS lineups through the power of simulation, combines data, every aspect of the slate to churn out lineups that match your preferences. In just a few clicks, you can have hundreds of well-built correlated lineups ready to go, whatever contest type you're playing. Check out the link in our description for more info. I'm sure we'll drop that link here in chat. Here's the thing about it. That's the read. I would tell you from my experience with Sims, I think they're very interesting. They are the new hot thing. They are the new wave. Uh, will it last? It'll last just as much as optimizers have lasted, and really good projections have lasted. And all. So I think there's some validity to it. It's not the be all end all. Like Blender said in chat earlier, he caught my attention with one thing. He says, it's not an answer key. Just running Sims just isn't an answer key. It puts together good lineups for you. Could you do them better on your own? I've always said this. Like sometimes I back test my stuff. Like just to see who's got good projections, because I'm trying to look at everybody's projections, and I want to run it back later on after the fact and see who did better in GPPs as far as projection and what settings I could use in lineup HQ and all that good stuff. And sometimes I'll have a set of projections, and I'll have a setting, and I'll run it, and like it'll airball 50 lineups in a GPP, right? But then I change one little setting there. It could be the most minute of things, and all of a sudden one lineup pops. Just one lineup out of those same projections pops, and you would have got a top 5 finish and made a couple of grand, right? So it's all like every slate is just so peculiar, like the bottom line on Sims. If you can make lineups really well right now with what you're doing, that's fine. But if you're time strapped, you want really good competitive lineups for GPPs. It's like 2-3 clicks of a button. There's not a whole lot. You can put more effort into it, and you can treat them like they're your own projections, and you can do all the stuff. But they just spit out solid lineups that can compete in GPPs. That's what Sims are good for, really just saving you a whole bunch of time. There is no answer key to DFS. That's the thing. So, but I don't know. What do you think about the Sims?
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing, obviously, you can use this for single entry and stuff like that, but I do think it is more beneficial, at least for me personally, when I'm building multiple lineups. Because the thing, like you mentioned, if you're doing one lineup, you can make sure you're hitting all the plays and the sort of correlations and builds that you want if you're just hand building one lineup. But when it comes down to it, if you're building 150, even 20 plus lineups, what it comes down to is being comfortable with the tools that you're using. I mean, when I first started MMAing, I can't tell you how many times I messed up a setting or messed up something in a CSV or whatever. And this sort of takes things like that out of the equation, right? It's answering sort of questions that you're sort of asking while you're building lineups in a way that traditional optimizers don't. So it's accounting for stacking, it's accounting for correlation, it's accounting for being unique and GPPs and all that sort of stuff. So I think that's the main thing. You can be comfortable with it because you know that it's accounting for it. It's checking all these boxes off that traditional optimizers don't. And they're things that you can sort of know that are being built into lineups with a couple of clicks of buttons. The first Showdown slate, somebody threw a chat in Discord, and they said, I built I built these 20 lineups in 12 minutes, and I think they won like $1,300. So that's sort of the power that the tool has, and that's the best part about it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you know, like you could sit there and build your own lineups and be very good at it. And once every 7 slates, you might hit for that 1,300.
Yep.
And you could not have the time, and you could run the Sims every single time and do it the exact same way, and keep your process, and your time limited, but keep that process in your Sims. And 1 out of every 7 slates, you might pop that 1,300. Like that's just what it is. So yeah, I'm into that. It's fine. It's good. Like I like to do them both. I like to have a mix though, man. I can't just trust all Sims. I need to get my hands dirty a little bit too. But let's get to Big Hurt. He's a FanDuel guy. Let's talk about FanDuel for a minute. He wants to know FanDuel single entry. Let's start off with the single entry favorite MVP, FanDuel.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit about the no quarterback build, and for me, I do like that. I mean, Kenny Pickett is pretty cheap over on FanDuel. He's almost $3,000 cheaper than Derrick Henry. He's $1,500 cheaper than Will Levis. So I think Kenny Pickett does make sense in sort of a cash type build. But I think if you're looking to be a little bit unique, like for me, I talk about it all the time in these showdowns. I'm more sort of leaning into being different, leaning into being unique. And the guy for me is probably going to be George Pickens. I know he's a little bit more expensive than some other options. Doesn't necessarily have an elite projection by any means, but I do think that he's going to be a very low-owned contrarian option. And I think tonight, 1 touchdown, that could be enough to sort of really set you apart in terms of being an optimal spend up. And Pickens, I think, has arguably the most touchdown equity on Pittsburgh right now. Even last week, we saw him sort of get phased out of the offense, but he still caught that touchdown at the end of the game. I like his touchdown upside. I like the matchup for him here. So he's my favorite contrarian one. I think if you're looking to build a little bit more optimally, a little bit more safe, Pickett or Derrick Henry are probably the best core options here.
Yeah, I'd say the single entry MVP, I would lean Levis. Just, Pittsburgh's not quite the same secondary that they've had in recent years. I think he can get them through the air. And he's got a little hint of running upside, too, if you didn't know that about Will Levis. And then for the large field favorite MVP, I'm with you. George Pickens, man, maybe the Plums play that. I don't know. I'm still debating it, but he's certainly a guy on FanDuel, man. He has a large yards per catch. He's got the touchdown equity thing. He really fits the profile of a good player on FanDuel. So large field, definitely George Pickens. All right. So I'm going to go to the Discord real quick. Got DK large field GPP. Westbrook Akina or Falk or the Tennessee defense. He has 3 options, but can only pick one. Akina, kicker, or defense.
In GPPs, I think, as crazy as it sounds, I think for the first time I might be answering a defense, but I think it's going to be the Titans defense for me. I still think all 3 of those options are fine on the slate. They're all fairly priced down and they're all in the same sort of price range. Akina, I do think is an interesting tournament play, but I do like the defenses in this one, which I typically don't, but a little concerned about the offensive production in this one. So I'll take Tennessee defense.
Yeah, I would say that I think the Tennessee defense is very interesting, but just for the sake of being a little different, I go Westbrook Akina because what if the new quarterback changes things for this receiving core, and you'd rather get in on it early than get in on it late. But so this one kind of goes opposite of what we've talked about. This Discord with 3 pass catchers with your quarterback this week. I mean, we're talking about maybe not even playing a quarterback period. What about 3 pass catchers if you do play one?
So the reason why I say I don't love that is because I like almost all the running backs in this game, and a lot of them do have pretty interesting pass game involvements. Najee Harris has back-to-back games with 5+ catches. Jalen Warren's been involved in the passing game all year. Henry's been more involved this year than in previous years. And then obviously Tyjae Spears. So I think that you can really build a lineup with 2 receivers and a running back or a tight end. I think there's some interesting tight ends as well. So I probably stay away from 3 receivers. But if you are using a quarterback as a captain or MVP, I do think it makes sense to use multiple of these pass catchers, but I think I just don't personally like the 3 options from one team. So I like to mix up, get some running backs and tight ends involved.
Yeah, Jared Barton pops up in chat, says, I love to get my weenie wet. I mean, come on, guys. Keep it clean. PG-13 here. Barton's always got some funny stuff to say. I'll say I Got No Chill was in chat a little bit earlier. It says, how about them Rangers? Yeah, as an Astros fan, I kind of stopped watching baseball once the Astros got eliminated. But, congrats to the Rangers. They did. They're not going anywhere. They got a young team there, man. They got some young guys in that. They started a couple rookies in that lineup. They're not going anywhere. It's just a matter of, can my Astros come back more focused next year and not play these reindeer games like they played this year with Dusty gone? We'll see what happens there. Doug Harrelson, how about these MME rules unique to this slate? Kicker greater than 10% and only Deontay Johnson and Derrick Henry in captain lineups. It's gross. Yes, it's a gross slate, man. You do whatever. What kind of, when you look at that total and see something that low, does it make you change any of your rules for a showdown slate, or are you still pretty much keeping everything, the basic stuff, the same?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I'm using SimLabs for this one, so it is a little bit different. Obviously, you're not dealing with the same sort of traditional rules here, but in the standard lineup HQ optimizer, I think there are a couple of ways you can be a little bit different than on other slates. I do think that you probably, at least for me personally, have more interest in defenses and kickers here. And then, you can even consider. I never like doing it, but I'll definitely have a little bit tonight with the defenses in the captain spot. But yeah, I think there are a couple of different ways that you can build with the game being a little bit lower scoring, and no quarterback lineups. I think that's another way that you could definitely consider doing that. So yeah, there's definitely ways to do that.
Let's get to another question here. Kevin says a PPR. I'm guessing this is a little fantasy football home league stuff. PPR. Start two of these guys. Deontay Johnson tonight, Puka, Collins, or Ramondre. Two of those guys. Which one's just a PPR? So, man, it's tough to get a. I don't know. What do you think? The luster's worn off of Puka as far as like. Well, I don't even know whose quarterback's going to be this week, right?
Yeah. I think if Stafford's out, you definitely got to take Puka out of the equation there. I like Deontay tonight, so I would probably go Deontay and Nico Collins there. Ramondre does have a good matchup, but man, the Patriots have just been so terrible. I know the Commanders just got rid of half their defensive line there, so maybe it's finally a spot where Ramondre can break out. But I think I'd go Deontay and Collins there.
Brian Marshall is in chat. He has a question specifically for you. So you have any Calvin Austin in GPPs to pair with Pickens, two wide receivers from the same team there?
I do have a little bit of Calvin Austin. I will say in my captain Kenny Pickett lineups, it is mostly Deontay, Pickens, and then a little bit of mix of these running backs and tight ends as well. But so it's not a lot of Calvin Austin, but I do have a little bit.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Divine says, why doesn't Jordan Cooper Blender do show anymore? I guess this show? I don't know if he ever did this show, but you can catch him on another show or something like in the morning time, running back lineups and looking at it. But he's more than welcome to come on here and have at it, man. I'd like to pick his brain sometimes. He's got a unique way of looking at it, just a very mathematical way. So, yeah, I don't know. But maybe that's a personal thing for him. But I don't know. We got it. All right, guys. I think it's time to do a little plums action here. We'll fire up the plums give. You guys get some more questions. Then we got about 12 minutes before this thing locks. We'll get out of here a little bit earlier if we don't have any more questions. But for now, I'm going to turn the floor over to Kyle and let him give his plums, filling it in his plums play of the night here on Showdown.
Yeah, I'm going to go with something really ugly here. It might be ugly enough to where I might not even want to watch the game because I'm going with Najee Harris. I know, trust me, I know. It does not feel great, that is for sure, but I think he's going to be pretty low owned. I do think that some of the receivers on the Pittsburgh side are pretty interesting, and I totally agree with liking Deontay and Pickens. I'll have a lot of them as well, but I do think with a lot of focus on those receivers and me not really liking Pickett tonight and not really feeling like I'm still a little worried about his injury status. Like it was pretty up in the air. We actually had Trubisky projected throughout, I think, until Tuesday. Pickett's dealing with the rib injury. I don't really know how he's going to be tonight. Obviously, he's not going to be 100%, but I think Najee Harris is going to be pretty unique in this spot. And again, if he finds the end zone, that might be all you really need. And he's been more involved in the passing game the last 2 weeks. So as ugly as it is, and as much as I really don't like watching Najee Harris, I think it's going to be Harris for me tonight.
Okay, I'm going. I mean, like I used to be a Najee fan, right? Coming out of school, I thought he was really an exceptional talent and everything, but man, he just looks rough out there. And a lot of it has to do with the offense, the offensive play calling, coordinator, offensive line, quarterback, all of it, right? But there are times he does look stuck in mud, but you never know. I don't mind that. That's definitely off the radar. I'm going a little bit more on the radar, but still away from some of the bigger players in the game. I'm going George Pickens. I just can't get away from him. I wanted to try to change it up after we already talked about him, but I just can't do it. It's like neither team is even projected to score 20 full points tonight as a team total. It should be low scoring, theoretically, should be low scoring according to limited touchdowns. A big play could land you in the optimal. There's actually very few wide receivers in the NFL that are as big players as George Pickens. He doesn't quite get the volume that you like, if you consider him a number one. But he is a big play guy, massive yards per target. And he ranks top 10 in the NFL in 20-plus receptions downfield, 20-plus yards receptions downfield. So he has a big play in him. If he grabs one of those tonight, that may be the thing that puts him in that optimal, maybe even the optimal captain. So I'm going George Pickens. It's if Tennessee has a weakness, it's certainly their secondary. So we're not beating our head against the wall in a really tough defense or anything. So I'll roll with that one. All right. Chop, as a Cowboys fan, are you concerned that they didn't make any trade moves? No, not really. The guys that were traded to other teams that kind of needed those things to strengthen up. We really didn't need. The Cowboys really don't need another defensive lineman. Certainly don't want to give up no second or third round draft equity for a spot, for a position we've already pretty deep in. And Kevin Byrd, a safety from Tennessee, gathered a little bit less draft equity, but man, Philly needed that a lot more than the Cowboys need a safety, to be honest with you. And we're not even sure Byrd is like really the same guy he used to be last year. Like his PFF grades are way down this year, so we'll see how that plays out. But no, I'm not really concerned. I'll live and die with what they're doing now. Fade one, Henry or D-Hop in a DK GPP. You got to fade one of these guys. I guess the opposite way of saying that is pick one and then fade the other.
Yeah, I guess I'll fade Hopkins and I'll take Henry. I think after last week, there's a chance that Hopkins is actually more popular than Derrick Henry. And I think that's probably not the way I would want to approach it. So I'll take Henry.
Yeah. Will you play Levis at MVP or Derrick Henry? Levis or Henry at MVP? This is coming from Discord. I'm assuming it's worded a little bit differently, but will you play Levis at MVP or Derrick Henry at MVP? Which one's your favorite?
I prefer Henry slightly, but I'll have some Levis. I'll actually be a little bit under on Levis captain ownership compared to where we have him projected right now, but I still think he's fine. It's just more so my personal lineups, but I think I like Henry a little bit more.
Season long. I like these season long questions. Thursday, you get them out there, you get a little help with your lineup. I like this. Season long from Big Hurt. 10-man league, PPR. George Pickens or Puka? I'll let you take this one, but we kind of talked about Puka. We need more facts. Well, that's the thing. He doesn't have the ability to sit back and wait on facts. It's either Pickens or Puka. So for me, I'm going Pickens, but I'll let Kyle answer.
Yeah, I'm going Pickens as well. I'm pretty skeptical that I know Stafford will try to play throughout any injury possible, but it sounds like it's a thumb or hand injury and hasn't practiced yet. And even if he's playing banged up, I know probably still be better than Brett Rippon, who's backing him up. But and Pickens has a pretty good matchup tonight, so I'll take Pickens.
Yeah, another question coming in from Discord: Levis or Pickett in a single entry 11-man contest? That's very specific. Levis or Pickett, single entry, only 11. Now this is much different than telling me large field GPP. This is specific. Only 11 guys he's competing with here. Levis or Pickett?
Yeah, I'll take I'll take Pickett slightly. I know I mentioned that I'm worried about his health and his injury, but I think more so the matchup. I'm really worried about a fall to earth for Levis here against this tough pass rush, even though Steelers secondary hasn't been as good. But yeah, I'll take Pickett there.
So if I look at the blitz and Pickett's grabbing around 16-point projection, Levis is grabbing around 12. That's a pretty big gap. There's a 9-point gap in ownership percentage. Levis is slightly less owned than that. So I think Pickett is the way to go. The ownership's not really that big of a factor here. And the projection is a pretty big gap right there. So I think Pickett is the way to go here. So I'll roll with that one. Pickens and Austin or Johnson and Boswell for a FanDuel GPP?
Pickens and Austin, and then Boswell and who?
Johnson.
I'll take the second there. I think Boswell is the guy who I'm going to have a little bit more than I normally have kicker wise, so I'll take the second option.
Man, that's a tough one because the FanDuel throws a wrench in it because Johnson or Pickens. Like DraftKings, give me Deontay FanDuel, our favorite pickings, but then the second part, Austin and Boswell. Well, one big play, and obviously Austin gets there, but like probably 7 or 8 times out of 10, Boswell beats him out in a game like this. So it's close, man. It's very, very close. Yeah, figured out. All right, guys, we got about less than 5 minutes left. Not seeing any more questions roll in, so we're just about to get out of here. I'm gonna turn the floor over to Kyle to give any last-minute sage advice for your lineups here before we jump ship.
Yeah, I think, it might be an ugly game, so maybe it's one that you want to build around that ugly, low-scoring game script. Or, I mean, it is a spot where I think a lot of people are going to feel that way. So maybe you want to be a little bit different, built for a shootout. But for me personally, if you are, building those ugly game script where maybe you're using defense and kickers and Najee Harris, maybe you just, I don't know, do something else, not watch the game if you're going to be tilting the lack of production there. But that's all I can say if you're trying to be a little bit more zen tonight. But I'm not optimistic about the production here.
Yeah, guys, it's been fun. It's going to be a fun night. We have a little three gamer in college football we're watching, a little showdown slate here. There's I'm sure there's 4 games in the NBA. It's a fun time of year, man. We're in November. Thanksgiving's creeping up. Don't look now, but we're not that far away. So we appreciate you taking your time to tune in and drop those questions. We're going to be here every showdown slate. Somebody will be here. I'm here on Mondays, Thursdays. Kyle's here on Thursday. We got another team on Sunday. This is a fun show to do, guys. So we appreciate you tuning in. Good luck in all those GPPs, whether you're building by hand with an optimizer or running sims now. We'll be back on Monday night. Until then, for Kyle, I was Chop. Good luck. We're out of here.